Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Becoming Cleo. I'm so excited that you're here. Today I want to talk about how to stop seeking outside validation from people, how to learn how to trust yourself, and overcome self-doubt. So let's get right into it. I used to and still do struggle with seeking outside validation. For me, there was literally a moment in time where I had to consult a friend before making any decision. Like I had to reach out to them and ask them what they thought of it before I could decide to move forward. Part of this for me was because I really lacked self-trust. I also had an immense amount of self-doubt. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't consult friends or look to them for guidance or advice, but for me, mine was specifically coming from not trusting myself enough to make the decision on my own. The problem with this is if they thought something was a good idea, then I'd be more inclined to follow through with it. But if they thought something was a bad idea, then I'd be more inclined to not go through with it. I think the thing with that is I was 100% relying on what they thought and what they decided was best for me, that I didn't really go towards my self-trust, my inner knowing, or my intuition. These were things that I had just really not tapped into yet as I have now. What I will say is the combo of lacking self-trust and having self-doubt, and having a lot of self-doubt is a really tough one to overcome, and it's something that I am still currently working on. So I truly do believe, at least for me in my case, that the need for external validation does come from lack of self-trust and then also with self-doubt. So let's get into it. I have come up with these 5 different tips that can help you to stop seeking outside validation and also to learn to trust yourself. And first thing is to identify where the need of outside validation came from. For example, my need for validation, I can pinpoint it starting, from what I remember at least, in 4th grade. When I was in 4th grade, my 4th grade teacher decided to separate me and 2 other students and put us in a private class that's for students that did not read and comprehend well. This came as a surprise for me because I was an avid reader growing up. I read a ton of books. I loved the library, and I also used to write a lot too. So I, as a kid, did not believe that I had issues with reading and comprehending. I believe that maybe the books were boring and they just weren't for me, but I did not think that it was my reading and comprehension skills. It just didn't make sense to me. This moment here started the lack of self-trust. Following that, in 5th grade, I had to go to these after school programs for kids that didn't read and comprehend well, and for kids that were really bad at math. Now, I knew that I was bad at math and I owned that, and I'm still bad at math. So that one made sense to me, and I feel like it didn't really give me a complex as much as the reading and comprehension one did. Because of these 2 experiences in 4th and 5th grade, it really led me on this journey of feeling like I had to prove myself and prove that I was smart enough and prove that I could read and comprehend. And this started my need for external validation, because as I was trying to prove myself and prove that I was smart, where I really just was looking for external validation to confirm. So I started looking for other people to validate me that I was smart, that I could read and comprehend, and that I was good enough. And I think a huge part of this was because I didn't understand why I was in those classes. There was really just no understanding to me that it really just caused this self-trust that then turned into me looking for outside validation to kind of like course correct and to like prove myself to myself, but also to prove myself to others. And so for this example, this is where I could pinpoint where my need for outside validation and where my lack of self-trust came from. Knowing that this is the reason allowed me to really gain an understanding as to why I seek out outside validation and why I'm now still currently building back up my self-trust. So for this one, I do have a few questions and you can write down for yourself to help you pinpoint where exactly does your lack of self-trust come from and where your need for outside validation comes from as well. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, can you think of a specific moment where you felt like you did not trust yourself and why? I feel like this is just going to give you insight as to where that lack of self-trust comes from. Although it may not identify the root cause for you, it can kind of give you some guidance so you can start thinking about those different moments where you started to lose your self-trust. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, can you think of something hurtful that someone said to you that stuck with you that you feel like ties into your need for external validation? This is also an open-ended question because I want you to just write, and I feel like when you free write, the things that come to mind can bring you insight that can help you to answer these questions. The second thing that I want to talk about is finding evidence of times where you validated yourself and things worked out. And these are going to be positive things. So think of this as like an evidence database of all of the different times where you trusted yourself, where you validated yourselves, and things worked out in your favor. I want you to do this because this is a really great way to see that there are going to be times in the past, and maybe there's not a lot of them, but there are still going to be times in the past where things worked out for you in the way that you wanted them to do because you validated yourself and because you trusted yourself. So it's really just a way to like refresh your brain and to retrain your mind and to think about all of the positive things that have worked for you. You can know that it is possible for things like this to work out for you as well. So when you're thinking about these times where you trusted yourself, they don't have to be these grand situations or moments. They can be really small because it's going to be building blocks to help you get back to that self-trust. The third thing that I want to talk about is find safe people or find a safe community. A therapist likes to say, are they a safe person? And then she tells me, you would know if they were a safe person, you would feel it and you would trust it and you'd be able to identify if they were a safe person. When you're coming back into this self-trust, I feel like it can be extremely vulnerable because you're still trying to find your way back. That it's really important that you surround yourself with the right people and not the people that are going to essentially throw you off of this journey, but rather people that are going to help usher you into the journey and people that are going to help you through it. I feel like when you're on this journey back to trusting yourself again, it's really vulnerable and you just want to make sure that you're confiding in people who you trust, confiding in people that you feel safe around, because you're still yourself finding your way back to your voice and then finding your way back to your own internal validation. The fourth thing that I want to talk about is to give yourself grace. So like I said, the journey of trusting yourself again, to overcoming external validation and self-doubt, it's a really tough one to work through and it's a really tough one to overcome. And like I said, it's something that I still am working through. So give yourself grace during this time. It's not going to be an overnight change and it's not going to be something that you can just work through super fast. You have to do the work. You have to continue to trust yourself and continue to build up that evidence so you can get to that place where you feel good about your decisions and to the place where you feel like you don't have to consult someone for external validation all the time. Things like this happen. We're human. We have these experiences that are not our fault, experiences that we're placed into, that we're put into, that we now have to work through to overcome. So give yourself grace as you're going through this journey. Be gentle with yourself and be kind to yourself. And one of the things that has helped me to be gentle and kind with myself is to really talk to myself as if I'm talking to my inner child. So the way in which you'd want to talk to a child is the way in which I want you to talk to yourself as well, because it's just going to help you to be more kind and gentle with your words, with the positive self-talk as you come back to this journey of learning to trust yourself again. Because I used to beat myself up a lot about this, especially the self-doubt, because I feel like I carried a lot of energy that showed that I had a lot of self-doubt and that I didn't trust myself. This one example where I was in a screenwriting class in college and I was showing my professor my work and I was just in her office and showing her, and I guess the energy weighed on me so heavy that as I was leaving her office, she told me like, hey, you don't have to doubt yourself. You can trust yourself, like you can trust that you're good at this. Me, that spoke to me really deeply because we hadn't had any conversations about my lack of self-doubt, or it's just something that she picked up on. And I didn't know that this energy was transferring to people and transferring to my professors. And because I was so hard on myself, I feel like I really carried it with me. But now that I'm working towards it, now that I'm working on getting better and working on being more gentle with myself, I feel like that's helped me a lot. We are humans and we are having a human experience, and we've literally never done anything like this before that we know of. Give yourself grace and think about that inner child that's in you and talk to that person, because that's what's going to help you to overcome this as well. Fifth and final thing that I want to talk about is creating your own version of success. I think this one's really important, especially for us who are seeking external validation. And that's because once we create your own version of success, stop trying to compete with this like worldly success. If you can define what success looks like for you and what you want your life to look like, then you can absolutely validate yourself better rather than seeking external validation for things that you think are successful. You create your goals and you follow them and break them as you please. An example of this is my version of success is to wake up, have a leisure life, and to do whatever it is that I want to do on my day-to-day from sunrise to sunset. That's one of my success goals. And that's a goal that I have for myself, that I created, and it's something that I want my life to look like. And because I created this goal for myself, I don't feel like I'm in competition with other outside worldly goals. I feel like this is just a goal that I want for myself, and I defined it for me. And I think this is something that's going to help me to stay in my own lane and also look at my own path and not be worried about what other people around me are doing, or not be worried about other people's successes. So I'm just focused on mine. So think about what it is you want your life to look like, and how would you define success for yourself. All my girlies like myself who are out there trying to validate themselves, trying to have better self-trust, that are trying to overcome self-doubt, I hope this video was helpful to you. If this video resonated with you, please feel free to let me know in the comments about some of your experiences as you're on this journey as well. Don't forget to connect with me across all socials at Becoming Cleo. And lastly, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.